what we're going to do on this to expedite the process so there's not so much time waiting for people to walk up and all that good stuff. We do have a ADA compliant podium right here. If that is more comfortable for you, go ahead and use it. Otherwise, I'm gonna call 2 names, and the first name I call will go to the podium. The second name that I call, if you'll just please step off to the right so that you're not blocking anybody's view, but I will call you next and then call another name. So the first person up is Greg Bennett with time donated by Kathy Key. Is Kathy in the room? Okay. And then on deck, I can't help it, I'm in baseball, so. On deck is Pete Key. If you would please step over to the right and wait for Mr. Bennett. Okay, and so you will get 4 minutes, okay?
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Mayor Walker and City Council members, thank you very much. I apologize for my voice. Thank God for microphones. There's been a lot of changes. I've just been talking to Larry. We've been chatting in the back. I'm going to go ahead and make the presentation that I planned to make prior to the chatting that's been going on. My recommendation at the end of this is going to be that we table this for a meeting, because there's been a lot of new information that's been floating around just in the last few minutes, even just with the updated landscape, with the new information. So bear with me. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Greg Bennett. I'm an attorney. I'm a partner at the law offices of Bennett and Bennett. My wife Kelly Bennett and I have a office in the city of Temecula. I represent 22 Murrieta residents, all of whom live immediately downslope from the project in the Grizzly Ridge subdivision. I wrote a letter to you all, copied the Murrieta City Council, as well as Larry and the developer, Mr. Markham, and the developer, objecting to the Wildomar Planning Commission's approval of the project, particularly the staff report, which I believe, in reading the staff report, ignored the interest of the Murrieta residents because they reside in Murrieta and not Wildomar. In particular, I pointed out that the Wildomar Municipal Code, MC Section 17180.101, provides for the consideration on the impact on the area surrounding a development before approving the development, and argued that these Murrieta residents who reside immediately adjacent to the development certainly reside within such impacted area. Since the drafting of my letter, the developer has made additional changes to its plans and has met with some of the impacted Murrieta residents, including some of my clients, including Mr. Key, in further attempts to mitigate the impact of the development on these residents. These additional changes are reflected on the staff report presented for consideration at this meeting, which primarily include additional setbacks from the southern lot line of an additional approximate 16 feet, the reduction of 1 dwelling unit from those southernmost buildings, and the addition of the dwelling units to other buildings to offset the loss of such dwelling units. Although my clients and I appreciate the developer's continued attempts to mitigate the privacy and security concerns expressed by my clients, all of whom live immediately downslope from the southernmost dwelling units, moving the buildings back another 16 feet is, I believe, insufficient. Although it will appear in the developer's simulations that you all have as part of your package that moving the buildings back have eliminated the privacy concerns, I do not believe that's true. My clients dispute the accuracy of the simulations. As Mr. Key told me today, the simulation makes it look like the building's half a mile away and the trees are 7 to 10 years old, which is not true, of course. Even the additional setback, the second-story side windows will still look down into my clients' yards for years to come. In addition to me, it seems that setting the buildings back an additional 16 feet only widens the impact of what I'm calling the green belt, which is that green area with the trees that runs the entire width of the project. Now, I wasn't always the upstanding citizen that I am now. When I was a kid,
I'm sorry, that's the time.
that's my 4 minutes?
That's your 4 minutes.
Boy, I must talk slower than I realized. My request is that we table this, as I mentioned. My clients are desirous of
Okay, well, we have to stop, I'm sorry.
Okay.
I know you want to talk on, but we can't.
Thank you.
Go ahead, next person.
Pete Key will step to the podium, and after that will be Linda Nagy?
Only 90 when I'm at.
Okay,
Go ahead, sir.
go ahead.
Council members, my name is Pete Key and I live downwind from this building project. I've been in opposition to the project since day one. I've been to your council and planning meetings and I've met with the Mayor Pro Tem as well as some of your council and planning commissioners, and I've listened to hundreds of Wildomar residents protest this project for months. I've been called a snowflake because I resisted progress and didn't want to take a 20% hit on my property values. I've done my due diligence and hope that the city officials have seen what your neighbors in Marietta will endure if this current project gets approved. And I have suggested alternative options that we all could live with. I have seen projects in the city of Wildomar changed and modified to be multi-use because they bordered single-family homes in Wildomar. But I've been told that it doesn't affect us, or we don't count because we're in a different city. I've been told that these buildings cannot be lowered to meet our slab elevations. And are you telling me that in a distance from Jefferson to Washington, the civil engineers cannot find a 9-foot difference? It's the wrong design in the wrong place. It was sold as luxury townhouses. We dispute that. If Mr. Lowe wants to introduce this project into our backyards in your city, I would suggest you make him do it responsibly. I asked Mr. Lowe if he will sell this project to an unknown entity if he gets it approved, and his answer was yes. I think it's your job to do the right thing, not only for us as your neighbors, but those who vote for you. Vote no. We ask to change the design, not design. Thank you.
Thank you.
Linda will be next, followed by Ed Swanega? Huizenga, or Ev?
Ed.
Ev, okay.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor, council members, we moved out here in 1991. I started teaching in the Lake Elsinore Unified School District. I taught language arts. I admit I am math challenged, but when I was given this flyer, when I walked in, we were talking about approximately 14.83 acres, and now suddenly the slideshow is talking about 25.9 acres. I don't understand. I don't understand how I didn't know about this. I keep myself well-read. I read the newspapers every day, and
Can you hold up that flyer again? That's not for this project. That's another issue that's been raised early this morning by Trudy. So that's not for this project.
right, we bought because it was RR. We bought when we were still Lake Elsinore, and we were part of the county. We bought in Windmill Estates, which are half-acre lots, and we love it there, and we wanted to remain rural, and we were told that it was going to remain rural. It sounds to me like this is a done deal, and that you have all decided already that it is okay to put this high-density housing in our town, in our city, that we designated RR, that you can just go ahead and do that, because you can. I understand the need for taxes, but have you seen the 15 at 1 o'clock on a Saturday afternoon southbound? It is a parking lot. You cannot tell me that adding a lane or two to Jefferson or adding a lane or two to Washington is going to help this. I got on the freeway last week at 10 o'clock on Saturday morning on Bundy Canyon Road, and I got off at Baxter because the freeway was not moving. You cannot tell me that the infrastructure issues have been addressed in this area, we will become another Trafficula. I see gridlock in 2 years.
The next speaker is Ev,
Thank you.
and followed by Ken Mays with minutes donated by Charlie Jorgensen. Are you in the room, Charlie? Thank you. Go ahead, Ev.
Hi, my name is Ev Huizinga, and I am only here to do a personal thing because we are directly behind this project, directly behind. So we have a swimming pool, or we're in the backyard with our friends. The slope, it looks right down in our backyard. We bought the home 3 years ago, completely remodeled everything, the backyard, everything. And I have a granddaughter that comes, she's in Panthers, and she has her group of kids. There's probably 19, 20 kids that come and stay in our backyard for 1 week. And they camp out, they barbecue back there, they swim back there, they set their little tents up, and they stay there in the summer for a week. And with this project going on behind us, with even the construction bothers me, with the tractors and the people and the comings and goings and the dust, the sand, the noise, all in that backyard, all that we've done for our landscaping is going to be totally ruined. And I don't want my granddaughter or 10 of her, 20 of her friends back there swimming around with people looking down and things going on back there. I just don't ever want it to happen. I have a friend that has a pool also in their backyard with her daughter in the backyard, and they were just back there mowing down, you know, the weeds grow up there, and they go back and mow everything down, I don't know, once every few months. And those guys in the tractor stopped and watched her and her daughter swim in their pool and just kind of sat there. And she looked up and said, oh wow, so she got her stuff, her towel, and went and packed up and went back in the house. We will have zero privacy at all, because all of the carports are going to be facing our backyard. There's going to be riffraff working on their cars, working on their engines, drinking their beer. They're going to look over and go, hey, they got a pool, they got a keg of beer out there, they've got barbecue out there. Let's just come over there, let's jump the fence.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for listening.
Ken Mays is next, and then followed by Gary Andre.
Zone change should be denied for this project as it is not in keeping with the Wildomar Strategic Visioning Plan of 2008. We're on page 24 of the booklet. The booklet is the following that's written. The community is justifiably proud of its rural nature and its commitment that this must be preserved. Showing the times of change on that very page is a picture of a former planning commissioner who deemed rural as dead when passing this project on to you, the city council. But rural has been promised by greater men with more integrity, such as former 1st District Supervisor Bob Buster at a November 8, 2003 town hall meeting when he spoke in favor of Wildomar and our desire to remain rural. Even the women of this community have spoken the same sentiments with the following words. We could have lived anywhere. We like the rural atmosphere. We like seeing the parachutes from the nearby airport and the horses that walk down the streets. Bridget Moore, 2005. From another woman of our community. We moved here because of the rural atmosphere and we wanted a safe, clean place to raise our children. Marcia Swanson, 2007. Let's not forget one of the guys. Along with that comes the responsibility of keeping our rural feel. I feel we can do that while ensuring that commercial growth can happen. Of the other two, one's really new, there's not much written, and the other one, he wants to keep dark skies. There are other reasons to deny this project, such as the fact that there are no future cutouts for bus service or bicycle lanes along the Jefferson Extension, even though the 395 study of 2012, which this city participated in, lists regular bus service with rapid transit lines and on-street bike lanes as a transportation priority. Our shadow government, WRCOG, has no money in its 5-year plan for the stretch of Palomar between Clinton, Keith, and Jefferson, even though the project is projected to cost almost $2 million. The 395 study claimed the development was less intensive in the cities of Wildomar, more rural. Let's keep it that way. Many will say this project is gonna happen. Well, the extension of Diaz from Temecula into Murrieta has been held up for years by the city of Murrieta. Why can't we hold up this one in favor of something better? We don't need these barracks next to single-family homes. Most recently, one of the above women in a State of the City address once again shouted out she wants Wildomar to retain rural as a community lifestyle. She said, thanking neighborhood cities for their positive relationships. We are not in line to return the favor to Murrieta. Another of the women above also said, but you can't sit on the sidelines and complain if you're not willing to act. We're here tonight to act and ask for this project to be denied, keeping Wildomar rural. Thank you.
The next speaker, hold on. Gary Andre is next with Trudy Curry following with time donated by Martha Bridges. And I did see, oh, there's Martha. Okay, go ahead, Gary.
Yes, this thing's not said. I voted for Bridget Moore in 2008, and the reason why I did that, when she was on the WIN committee and we actively worked for cityhood, she stood up at LAFCO regarding Murrieta taking over Wildomar, half of Wildomar. And she stated very specifically, we do not want your higher density homes. We want to preserve and protect our ranch community. That's how everyone felt at that time. We want to preserve and protect what we have. Tim, you stated about 3 months ago, I was here, about when is this going to end? All these high density homes, you stated. When are we going to start building ranch homes and larger lot properties? True, very true. We need to do that. You need to look at your ordinance you passed for block walls. Talks about a 6-foot wall, unless it's retaining on the interior of the wall, then it could be higher. But now we're putting in an 8-foot wall and it's violating a zone. We got an issue there. We got an issue with the wall there, and being 8 foot high. If it says 6 foot, it needs to be 6 foot. Design guidelines need to be followed. Monument entries. The city hasn't done one of those yet on any project. You should read them. Pull them up when they read them. Go through them and look at them all. It's incredible. It's beautiful how they have it all laid out. It's just incredible what you can learn just going through the design guidelines and reading them. There's so much in there. Go over the Menipee. Look at all their monument entries going into their home. How come we don't have them here?
Okay, that's it. That's it. That's
Trudy Curry is next, followed by Robert Kinsey, with donated time by Dina Kinsey. Thank you. Go ahead, Trudy.
I would like to speak to a similar project that one of our residents recently brought up as being developed in Lake Elsinore. The resident likens it to the Camelia project and thinks that the Wildomar residents are not aware of it or care. I have nothing negative to say about the Mission Trail apartments being developed in Lake Elsinore. They are nothing like the Camelia project. First, this development will have a 90-foot setback from the community of Summerlee, and it will be built on a 4-lane Mission Trail road. And the first apartments will be built on a 90-foot setback, and they will be 1-story. They will be close to shopping, entertainment, and a decent road to nearby freeways. Mission Trail apartments are set on level lots. Camelia project is set on terrace rolling hills overlooking the backyards of closest residents. The Mission Trail apartment developers know how to develop properties and how they would best be suited for the community. Next, I would like to address the private meeting between 2 of our council members and Stonehurst community residents. I asked to be included in this meeting because I wanted to find out more about what our council member calls misinformation being spread. I was flatly refused as to my request to attend. I do understand that at least one of the council members indicated that Wildomar would be sued if they refused to pass this zoning change, and that Wildomar was being handed $4 million by the developer owner. Sounds to me like these council members will pass this zoning ordinance no matter what the residents of Wildomar want. Next, it should matter to our city council what is best for our community, not about frosted windows and a ranch facade. Ranch style does not make 163 townhomes look rural in any way. It should also matter to our city council what the residents have to say in developing this community. When a city council ignores what the residents want, care about, and have been promised by our vision plan statement, adopted when we became a city and reaffirmed in 2017, we have a right to an explanation by our city elected officials. I am 100% in opposition to the Camelia Townhouse community because it does not fit the area. Being developed on a 2-lane highway, putting more congested and safety issues on Palomar Street, which will be improved when and if some other developer comes along and provides improvements. This development is not close to entertainment, shopping, or freeways, which further clogs our local streets. Some say additional 800 cars today, some say 1,000 plus cars today will be created from this one development. What type of financial impacts will this make on our city services, police, fire, and schools every day? Thank you.
The next speaker is Robert Kinsey, and following him will be Joseph Morbido. Go ahead, Mr. Kinsey.
Good evening. My name is Robert Kinsey. You may remember me because I presented this group in the Planning Commission multiple times. I present on topics such as spot zoning, home devaluation, traffic, along with the elevation and privacy concerns. I'm not here tonight to recap any of this with you, as you've probably heard these things ad nauseum. But before I start, I'd like to acknowledge Mr. Lowe, Mr. Markham, their engineer, for coming by the house last night and reviewing the proposed project changes and hearing firsthand from our family our concerns and seeing the view of the markers on the hill. He did talk about the foliage and the trees blocking views, but from our backyard, that's 100% reliant on those trees. So they can look from those houses if those trees aren't fully developed directly into our house and into our backyard. Now, for my topic tonight, I'd like to bring up one thing to get clarified, and then I'd like to make a proposal. The thing I'd like to start off with is a formula used for the proposed townhomes with the Camelia project selling for $350K when they're between 1,400 and 1,600 square feet. This doesn't support the housing comps of townhomes in either Elsinore, Wildomar, or Murrieta. Proposed townhomes are going to be 2-bedroom, 2-bath, some 3-bedroom, 3-bath, and they will not be with a personal patio or balcony. They all have 2-car garages. If you compare these on Home Scout, Zillow, or any other application, you'll find the following comps townhouses in that area, in these areas. The average 1,300 to 1,600 square foot townhome with 2 bedrooms, 2-bath, and a patio and a balcony and a 2-car garage are priced between $148K to $160 or $186K in Lake Elsinore. The last one sold in Wildomar was $212 or $210K. There's nothing on the market today. And then in Murrieta, they're ranging from $240K to $300K. The average 1,400 to 1,700 square foot townhome with 3 bedrooms and 3-bath with a patio, balcony, and 2-car garage range from $165K to $260K in Lake Elsinore and $280K to $360K in Murrieta. I couldn't find one in Wildomar. The selling price has an effect on the comps in the area, affecting both Murrieta and Wildomar residents. It would also have an impact on the tax element called special assessments. This tax may include the cost of bonds, infrastructure such as water, sewer, lighting, schools, and in some cases, Melrose. I'm not sure the tax, but if you were to take 2% upward based on the total cost of the bonds, you can and the assessed value of the home. If we were to perform basic math on the price of the last townhome sold in Wildomar, 210K, using this 2% special assessment tax, each home would bring in $4,200 per year. Times that by the number of townhouses, you'd bring in roughly $685K for the 163 units. Now let me offer an alternative, which preserves Wildomar's rural atmosphere. It addresses the concerns of the homes along the Murrieta border. It'll bring in or stabilize the traffic, or at least minimize the traffic, and it also brings in revenues for the city of Wildomar and Mr. Lowe himself. And that would be to go with single-family homes and maintain the rural residential RR. The average 2,000 square foot to 2,600 square foot home with 3 bedrooms, 2.5 bath, and a 2-car garage with their yards start off at $380K to $500K in Wildomar. Performing the simple same math used for this price will take $380K and a base tax of 2% for special assessment. These homes will bring in $7,600 per year. The city will use the same allotment for the total number of homes that we're going to be put in for
Okay, thank you.
the Wildomar portion. You'll get 78 homes.
Next speaker is Joseph Morabito, followed by Sheila Earlham.
Good evening, Council. I had written down some stuff, but something occurred to me right there that I'd gotten into a conversation with somebody about that the 350 is an exaggeration. It probably is. And I said, you know what? I hope they're 200 grand. I'm sorry, that's still a big mortgage out there. So, and we all have kids that probably can't afford in California at all. So if they actually came in at 200, which I'm sure he wants to actually get the most for his money, but I'd be good. Anyway, I had some really fun shtick planned for tonight's meeting, but my friend died last night. And I find myself less interested in the contrived first world problems that have been used as rallying cries by those against this development. I know that all of you council members, along with your appointed planning commissioners, not to mention the dedicated professionals that make up the city staff, have always had Wildomar's best interest at heart. I trust your judgment here and will happily support whichever way you choose to vote on it. Thanks.
Thanks.
Next speaker is Sheila Earlham, followed by Ms. Miller.
Well, the arguments against this have been all over the place, and I've been trying to track them, and I don't envy you your decision. They waver from privacy, people are going to be looking down at us, they ignore the fact that there's tracks in that area that have other neighbors looking down on them. They're talking about home prices, and I can't figure out if the home prices in the townhomes are too high or they're too low, because I know somebody's worried that the townhomes equal hordes of evildoers coming down to I don't know what, break into your homes. I know that we're concerned about rural. I'm hearing the rural thing from Wildomar residents, which is ironic because many of those complaining about the rural live in tract houses. And the trick is here, if you bought into a tract house, you're living next to somebody somehow who was looking at you going, hey, what happened to my rural? I can look at Stonehurst. If you go down Palomar, there's a little mobile home there that has several tract houses butt up against his property. It's interesting. I think the important things for you guys to remember, and I first off, I appreciate you all. I appreciate the city staff, and I appreciate the planning commission, even when I don't agree with you, even when I'm not happy with what you do or don't do. I appreciate you because I know you're trying hard. I think this project follows the general plan. I've been impressed with the concessions that these people have made. Frankly, I'm surprised they didn't just say, you know what, we're going to keep what it is and we're going to build houses along a legal limit that we're allowed to from your property line. Boom. So I think they're doing a great job. I am concerned about traffic, the roads, and I haven't noticed a lot of discussion on the parking. Maybe I missed it, but otherwise, I don't see a lot of, I don't know why this is bad for the community. Thanks.
The next speaker is Ms. Miller, followed by Kathleen Hamblin.
I liked yours. I had stuff, but they keep saying weird stuff.
Right.
Like, they're gonna come down and rob my riffraff.
I just put a letter on the city clerk's desk and he gave it to Mr. Bassey, but he didn't mention it. Attorneys are watching you. Your soul is on the table. Isn't it a California law for 3 minutes for public comment? Why are you rushing this? Not even dark. I mean, really. There is evidence that local ancestral Indian tribes passed through this area on the way to the beaches and left many artifacts. Enacted on July 1st, 2015, AB 52 established a new category of resources under CEQA called Tribal Cultural Resources that contains the tribal cultural values in addition to the scientific and archaeological values. You can't ignore that. 43 people attended meetings on this project and are still concerned with the traffic on Palomar, and you cannot mitigate it away. It is not a fantasy. It's not going anywhere. It's increasing. Wildomarians think there will be increasing crime because such expensive condominiums will cause them to be made into rentals, and therefore that brings more crime. We don't want this to happen to Wildomar, as in the Andalusia tract housing, and in Whitewood, where people are renting and the young people are sub-renting and sub-renting on top of that, creating noisy parties infecting the neighborhood that used to be working family neighborhoods as reported by neighbors. This is a flood zone looking for a place to happen in Wildomar, headed for Marietta Creek and to the low spot, McVicker, with that documented flooding. I observed the closeness of the water to the top of the bridge this winter. It is definitely on the rise and prayerfully will have more rain. These condominiums will create more noise because of the construction and the amount of cars and trucks descending on the apartments every day. When the traffic slows down, the noise stays longer from the combustion engine. The decibel threshold for this area joining the wildlife of Santa Rosa Plateau is unacceptable. I got cut off.
The next speaker is Kathleen Hamblin,
tasteless.
followed by Rick Estes.
Awesome.
Ms. Miller, we got a copy of you.
She's the best.
Hi, I'm Kathleen Hamblin. I've resided in Wildomar for 10.5 years now, and it's funny to me because after we became a city, they made this logo that you see in the back of you and over here, and it looks like it's pretty rural to me, so, you know, it doesn't really represent us anymore. And so it's been my view in the years now that it seems like 90% of the people we have voted in the council and planning commission in the past, and who are currently acting, hold seats, it seems like you're acting like rulers of Wildomar. And as most of the residents who bought homes here, who have invested their lives, their families' lives, who expect to have a good future and a quality of life, and to live in a rural environment, are continually met with staunch and adverse resistance, especially when it comes to high density development here. The members you were elected to represent the people here and how we want the city to be. Why is it an uphill battle at every turn with the majority of the council and commissioners who are reluctant and block the vision we planned in 2008? We need to enforce our vision to keep Wildomar rural. I oppose the Camelia Townhouse project. We don't need any more high-density development in Wildomar. We need to end rezoning and the rezoning to the medium and high density. And it's like you're all trying to pack 100 pounds of rocks in a 10-pound bucket. This project does not fit. I also think that we need to work on our infrastructure, our roads, and as far as that bike lane goes, I think that's a joke. I live on Grand. The last thing we need is a bike trail on Grand.
Thank you.
The next speaker is Rick Estes,
Ken likes the bike trail.
followed by Leonardo Aguilar.
Hi, my name's Rick Estes. I first want to say I do appreciate the hard work and the long hours that all of you council people are putting in here. Because somebody's got to make the call, somebody's got to do the job, and you guys are doing it. My remarks are going to be pretty brief. I do want to remind everybody here, and I don't think I need to remind the council, but perhaps it wouldn't hurt, certainly the audience, that there are alternatives to this project. If you don't get it right, or if you were to turn it down and it will be forced to go some other direction, it could certainly be worse. I suppose in theory it could be better, but I mean, you may have to live with something totally different. And so when a guy comes to you and he puts together what I see this as a very positive project, he comes to you and he said that you have to look hard at it and you think, all right, what are the alternatives? Because the alternatives are not keep it rural, keep it, you know, that kind of thing. I just want to make that point because I think it needs to be said. I'm here, there's a garden club forming up and I happen to be in the middle of it. So I would suggest that, assuming that this project gets approved, I would love to see a community garden of some sort for the residents there. It's a fun activity, it's something that can be done, and you probably have enough room for it. So that's one suggestion from me. The second suggestion, and Bridget and Marcia are probably still sick of seeing these pictures, but I have always been in favor of community fountains where little kids can go play and the folks can sit around and watch them. I tried to get it put into the parks and I tried to get it built. I know they're expensive, but they don't use a lot of water, and if the developer could see his way or their way to do something like that, I think it would be great, and I would favor that also. I think it's time to, I think this is a very reasonable project, very reasonable.
Thank you.
So I suggest to you that you pass it and take on with it and build it.
The next speaker is Leonardo Aguilar. Is he here? Leonardo Aguilar. Okay. Last speaker is Alan Wong.
I need 2 minutes.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. My name's Alan Wong, resident in the area since the early 1970s, when we were all rural. In fact, I remember some of the same comments as a young high schooler growing up when the first set of tract homes was coming to Temecula. Back then, Temecula to Elsinore was all the same thing. So grew up in a rural area, appreciate the rural area, and appreciate all the comments that have been said. You know, not all the development has been bad. We've fought for rural protection for quite some time. When I was a kid, you know, we had to go grocery shopping in Fallbrook, so bringing that closer to home was much better for us and our family. Here tonight, out of courtesy, respect, and some concern. First, I've always enjoyed a reciprocal relationship with Wildomar. Enjoyed working with council, your staff, and Gary Andre on trails, regional trail system for many, many years. And you don't see council members going to other cities too often, and that occurred this time, and I would like to commend the council members, Mayor Pro Tem Benoit, and the other council members who actually came out and visited Murrieta residents to listen to their concerns. That's very rare no matter where you go. And I've always enjoyed that. Great relationship also for the applicant. Project seems to be trying to mitigate all of those concerns from residents, staff, and council. This project clearly is in your general plan. I'm not here opposing the project. I'm here out of concerns that the residents have and concerns as a council member. The project has the privilege of building in your community, as it is indicated in your general plan, has been indicated since the early 1980s from what I understand. I appreciate the applicant for making many, many changes, and from what I understand there are more changes even to this day being made to accommodate concerns. What I'd like to suggest is there might be
Unfortunately, the time's up.
Hasn't been thought of. We do have the authority to make up if they...
It's time. I'm sorry.
Thank you.
Wow. Wait,
Mr. Mayor,
your phone.
council members, that's all the speakers that I have.
Mr. Long. Mr. Long?
I'll figure it out.
Mr. Long.
We have one more speaker that we had one slip on. So we're going to go ahead and have that person come up and give us speak to that, and then we will have Mr. Markham come back up and represent the applicant. Go ahead.
If Mr. Omani Najee, I got it right, did I not?
Hi, my name is Omani Najee, and I've heard a lot of people speak here tonight, and I had to let my voice be heard. I
I moved up here in 2000 as a deputy sheriff from San Diego for 2 reasons. I wanted to move out of high-density apartment living. You do not want that here. I've heard a lot of numbers here, but no experience. If you think there are going to be 60 cars leaving in an hour and back every morning, every afternoon, those are just numbers and statistics. That is not accuracy. You still got people who are going to school, people who are going to the gym, a bunch of other things. People who are biking, their children and everything else. So if you think it's just going to be limited down to 60 cars leaving here and there, that is ignorance. If you think it's going to take one deputy sheriff, I was a deputy sheriff for 16 years. If you think it's going to take one deputy sheriff in a high-density apartment to cover that by himself, that in itself is ignorance. Because it's a whole different dynamic. I've heard people say, you know, riffraff and everything in apartments. I don't consider them riffraff. I'm from that type of culture. But it is a different dynamic when you congest people. You do not want this here. I'm telling you. That's the reason I moved here. Not into Temecula and not into Murrieta. I want to move my kids out of those things. Out of San Diego, out of those type of areas that included Murrieta and Temecula. That's why we moved here. We've got it in Lake Elsinore. We've got it on each side. We don't need it here. It's already better here. The people don't want it. The only people who I've heard want it are the ones who can put money in their pockets. That includes, I'd like to know what you guys are benefiting from it, because the people do not want it. You do not want this issue here, because once that cancer comes, it grows. You're not going to need one law enforcement officer. You're going to need a whole different department, because you're asking for a complete different dynamic to come here. And I'm speaking from experience and not just computer graphics and a bunch of numbers.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And that is the final.
You've done really well the whole time. It's been perfect.
That is the final speaker.
There you go. All right.